Hi, what we're going to do today is go over some of the basics of a vertical design. This is going to be similar to what we did in class, using different materials though, and just adding a little bit of a different twist on it. So we'll be taking that classic vertical design and just giving it our own little artistic flair. I'm using a cylinder container and a piece of Oasis floral foam vertically down through here. You can see that I needed to build it up just a little bit, so I added some of the jewels at the bottom, used an artificial leaf actually to cover that, and so that we don't see any of our mechanics here. So I'm going to use our basic rules of proportion in deciding how tall to make this arrangement. So of course we all know the basic rules of proportion. We'll take the height of the container, and then we will create the arrangement 1.5 to 2 times the height of that container. I think it's a good idea to start using parts of your body to actually help yourself measure, as opposed to bringing a ruler out. You want to begin to be able to sort of eyeball things, if you will. So I will use my hand and then bring this up here and here, which is going to help me to know where I want that flower stem to be. In knowing how to cut that stem, I'll look to see where the foam is, bring my hand directly across, and I know that it's going to go into the foam a couple of inches, so that's going to help me to know where to cut that stem. This vertical arrangement is going to be a one-sided design, so my first flower placement goes towards the rear of the design, standing straight up and down. If I look at that sideways, I want to make sure that if I follow the back of the design, at the back of the container, I should say, that my flower is actually leaning towards that point, but yet not leaning all the way backwards. So in a classic vertical design, we know that if we take the width of the container, follow directly up that width of the container, all of our flowers should stay within that area. So what I want to do is try to keep most of that in there, but we will be deviating just slightly. This is a radial design, so I'm going to bring my flowers slightly forward and bringing these coming into a center point here. The stem end that goes into the floral foam must be clean. So if there's any buds or anything, we want to make that nice and smooth there, making that sharp angled cut and inserting that stem there. Now before I go any further here, I want to help to create my focal area, and I'm going to do that by adding some of the hydrangea. Some people actually like to add those hydrangeas before they even begin at all, and they will incorporate that into their design. I'm going to remove this other leaf here because I know that it's going to go into the flower, the floral foam. And I'm also going to pare this down. Wherever there's a little knot or node where we've taken a stem off, we're going to end up chewing up our foam if we don't smooth that down. We want that to be the same diameter that our stem is. So I'm going to use this, and I'm going to insert this on a slight angle here and try to get that very low in the foam. So this is going to help to cover my foam here. If I do want to use any of the foliage, it's best to leave that on the main stem. So I really wouldn't want to take off one of those leaves. I'm going to take another hydrangea and use that along the back side here, sort of fitting that in and creating that all the way down into our back area. And this is going to be something that I will be designing through. I'll be working through that. So far we can see how we've created our line. Our flowers do appear to come from a central growth point down here in the center of this arrangement. But yet it's not stiff and stagnant. We have a natural rhythm to this where our eye follows from right to left and then back again to right again. So this is going to create movement through your design. So you always want to keep that in mind. I'm going to add a few iris here in looking at my flowers and choosing which flowers to use. you're going to want the flower that is tighter, a little bit smaller up towards the top part of your arrangement, and the more open flowers towards the base. So I'm going to use one of my iris right here, and I'm going to cut that one again. Just a little bit shorter. I'm going to keep a little bit of a void going here. I don't want these flowers to be exactly at the same height, so I'm going to make sure that I dip that one in just a little bit more. And then I'm going to use these two iris here in the front. You can see how the stem angle begins to change. I'm going to use this one coming over here off to the side. So the stem angle begins to change as we come more forward in our design. We're going to bring our eye over here to the right hand of that arrangement there. Really want some interesting piece here. I have this really interesting artichoke that I'd like to add into this arrangement. So let's see if we can find a spot for that. We have a really huge stem here, so we're going to have to wedge this down. I'm going to use the knife and cut that so that I have a wedge on each side. And again, I'm going to pare this down so that I don't have any big knots or nodes. Something like this going into my foam could absolutely destroy the foam if it's placed in incorrectly. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to work that directly into my foam here. And I want this to be sitting pretty much on the edge of my container, but yet not extending too far out the outside. So I'm going to push that in. So I don't want it to be too far out and coming out in this direction as if it were parallel to the table, yet more at a 45 degree, but still extending over the edge of the container here. So what we've done is we've created movement for our eye to follow. We have a beautiful focal area here with the artichoke and the hydrangea and the couple of iris. I want to continue, and I really want to put a little bit of the flare into it. And so I want to create some movement here. So I want to bring in some of that beautiful lime green color. I'm going to bring the bells of Ireland, and those are going to come slightly off center here. And with this beautiful curving look, this is going to come in and bring our eye back into the center of this design. All of the flowers that we place in this arrangement, we want to do exactly that. We want to take our eye and bring our eye back into the center of this arrangement. So we have a static line in the center here. I'm adding movement with the bells of Ireland. So I have what we call dynamic line, which adds a curve to it. So I can add those two pieces there. And then if I really want to add a little bit, and this is, again, this is where we're deviating from our classic vertical design. I'm extending the base slightly. But rather than having just one bell here, I want to repeat that line. And so I'm going to bring a second bell that's going to come up, and again, that curved line comes back into the center of our arrangement. Our eye follows line and motion, and whatever we place into an arrangement, that's exactly what we're trying to do, is to create a path for our eye to follow. So looking at it here, definitely we've got some movement going. I'm feeling like we're a little heavy here, and we need something coming out on this side to sort of balance with. So we could do a little bit of our plumosa fern. We could bring some of that out, and we might want that to be, actually I think I like this piece a little bit better. You know, you as the designer, you need to look at each and every piece of floral material that you're using. And if you don't really like the way it looks, then you can customize it. So if I want this to be a little bit thinner, then I can just snip these pieces off, and I could make that so that it actually had a little bit more of sort of what we call a void or a connecting line here. If I wanted to bring something here and give it sort of a technique that we call sheltering, I could bring that in from the center. And I need that to go in at a little different angle here. But look at how we create a space here that is actually underneath and gives a sheltering of our focal point underneath there. So you get to decide where you want things to go. All right, I wanted to show you that little technique of sheltering. I'm really feeling like it doesn't work in this design, but I think instead I'm going to add another piece of the plumosa down here just a little bit lower. Also wanted to add this beautiful foliage. This is a type of a eucalyptus, and look at how that color just brings that beautiful, beautiful look there. And I want to place these in between my two pieces of plumosa and bringing that down. This also is adding movement to my arrangement. And again, here's where we begin to deviate from our classic vertical design. In fact, if we look at this now, we've almost changed this arrangement to an asymmetrical arrangement. We have a little bit heavier side here, a little bit longer side on the other side, but it's still not quite an asymmetrical. So we're going to finish off, let's turn around and see what our back side looks like here. We definitely need to finish off and make sure that we don't have any of our oasis showing. That's very, very poor mechanics to do that. I'm adding a little bit of movement coming out this other direction, and I need to be careful what I'm doing. I have to look back at the front here. So right now, I've actually taken and pulled a diagonal line through this arrangement. So from the front here, we really don't see this, but if we turn this and begin to see it on the back, you can see how that's going to come through. And we'll want to extend that. I'm going to add a few more pieces here to make sure that I create that movement. And then in order to create another little area, let's take some of our Kermit mums here. These are going to pull in this beautiful chartreuse color that we have used with our Bells of Ireland. So what I want to do here is I want to create a little area, and I'm going to segment this over on this side. I'm going to look at it here from my side. I just want to see just a touch of it coming in from this way. So I've created the height there. I know how long that flower should be, and I'm going to add a few more pieces of my Kermit mum to bring some of that beautiful chartreuse color. This color is so important in design. It really helps other colors to just pop. And then I'm going to also use that along the back side here to create another little area. And when using these mums, I like to separate them all. I like to use them individually and make sure that I put the flowers where I want them and not where nature wants them. So again, you are the designer and you get to decide where that goes. We still have a little area here where the foam is showing. And what I want to do with that is I want to take my bell, and I want to cut this down, and I want to actually use the individual pieces low in this design. This is a little trick if you ever want to give the appearance of hydrangea, but you don't have the funds for it, because of course hydrangea can be rather expensive. You can take the little segmented ends from the Bells of Ireland and you can put them low. You can kind of pave them into the foam, and it's going to give you that same look. So what this is doing, this is keeping my texture similar from the bells coming here. It's helping to hide the edge of that container because I don't want to see the edge of that container. I'm going to use the rest of the bells underneath my hydrangea here because I can see some foam, and I want to finish this off to make sure that it is finished off completely. None of my mechanics showing. And again, this is going to help to pull that color through. So this is going to keep my design and have some continuity through that design. So here we have what started out as our sort of classic vertical arrangement. We added a few bells of Ireland, a little bit of extra greenery coming off the side, and we have extended it just slightly, given it a little bit more motion, and created a beautiful arrangement. So one other thing we could do, we could use the Gaelic sleeves down low, and I'm thinking that that might be, you see that little space right there? That's really bothering me. I really feel like I need something there. It's like I need to weight this in. These colors are so similar to the artichoke, but we can use these in a way that's going to help to weight our design down, and it's going to keep my eye from that big hole there. So using those Gaelic sleeves, one on top of the other in a terracing fashion, and creating space in between also adds another bit of interest. This one has a little bit more green to it and a slight marking there, but that is just going to add a little bit of interest to that one. So you can see how we've created space. I like to think of this technique sort of as nature as our inspiration. If you've ever seen fungus growing out in on a tree, you know how the mushrooms kind of grow and they're layered like that. That's kind of the look that I'm trying to get there. So again, the classic vertical design with a few extra floral pieces here. Something like this would be very appropriate for any area where you had limited space, but yet you wanted a really, really high impact. So I hope you enjoyed the design. Thanks.